All the questions surrounding the activities of the Secret Service here continue to swirl. How exactly did the Secret Service miss the shooter in the first place? Why exactly was that roof not cleared? Again, it was only about 150 meters from the place where President Trump was speaking. It was the only building in the area that did not have Secret Service on top of it, well within the range of a normal AR-15. The range of a normal AR-15 is maybe 500, 600 meters if you're a decent shot. In this particular case, he was extremely close. And again, it's only through the grace of God that President Trump is not dead. Not only that, video has now emerged showing that the shooter had plenty of time to get ready. People saw him climbing on the roof of the building. They commented on this. They were videoing him. Where was local law enforcement? So we've been told by Secret Service professionals that the way that typically these sites are secured is there's sort of an interior area that is controlled by Secret Service, and then slightly outside of that perimeter, there's another area where they coordinate with local law enforcement. As we will discuss in a moment, local law enforcement signally failed here, not only because they allowed a shooter to get onto the roof of the building, but also because a member of local law enforcement apparently had an actual physical confrontation with the shooter on the roof. And apparently, according to the Associated Press, a local cop actually confronted the shooter on the roof and then had to retreat because the shooter swiveled the gun around. And then when the shooter swiveled the gun around, he went down the ladder up to the roof, the local cop. And at that point, he swiveled back around and started shooting at the president. According to the Associated Press, a local law enforcement officer climbed to the roof and found Crooks. That's the name of the shooter. Again, I normally don't mention the names of mass shooters or shooters on the show. This is an exception when you try to kill the president of the United States. A local law enforcement officer climbed to the roof and found Crooks, who pointed the rifle at the officer. The officer retreated down the ladder. The gunman quickly fired toward Trump. That's when U.S. Secret Service gunmen shot him. So presumably, if not for the cop having distracted the shooter, he might have gotten off a better shot. Again, the questions continue about how the gunman got so close to the president in the first place. Kevin Rojek, the agent in charge of the FBI's Pittsburgh field office, said it surprised him the gunman was able to open fire on the stage before the Secret Service killed him in the first place. The Wall Street Journal calls it the most stunning failure for the Secret Service in decades, which clearly is true, since we haven't had a major assassination attempt on a president or presidential candidate in several decades. The last major assassination attempt on a presidential candidate was, in fact, on President Ronald Reagan, going all the way back to the early 1980s, in which President Reagan was shot at very close range. Here's the video of the shooter. Again, he had plenty of time to get ready up on top of that roof.
I was doing the job. I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful places.
You can hear President Trump's voice in the background. Somebody is filming, and then you can hear people discussing the fact that there is someone on the roof with a gun.
Right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look, there he is.
Easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be
I mean,
here.
look how much time there is. Someone calls an officer.
We have criminals.
He's
We
on
have
the roof. He's
drug
right.
dealers. We have people that
Right
should not be
here,
here.
right on the roof.
It's much
He's
tougher
standing
than
up now.
it happens.
He went right on the roof again.
An absolutely extraordinary failure by the Secret Service here. According to Susan Crabtree, reporting for Real Clear Politics, she says, "This is the problem my Secret Service sources have cited. Secret Service's resources were diverted away from Trump. Why? Because Jill Biden had a local event. They followed agency protocol applying to Trump as a former president, according to two sources within the Secret Service community. There were also many supplemental agents from different field offices, not Trump's regular detail, providing security at the rally because Trump's regular detail has been overworked, some working 7 days straight, and only 2 counter snipers." That, of course, is an insane story, given the fact that the threat level to President Trump is so much higher, obviously and clearly, than the threat level to, say, Jill Biden. You've heard me talk for a long time about how you can actually save money with Pure Talk. Pure Talk is half the cost of other big phone providers. Now, you might be thinking, what's the catch? There's no way Pure Talk can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $20 a month. I say, well, Just ask the thousands of my other listeners who have already switched over. They're loving America's most dependable 5G network. They love Pure Talk's U.S. customer service, their selection of premium phones, the money they are saving month to month. So what exactly are you waiting for? It's time to start supporting companies who share your values, like creating American jobs and supporting our veterans. It's time to switch your cell phone service over to Pure Talk. Plus, with no contract and a 30-day money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro to upgrade your cell phone service to America's most dependable 5G network and save an extra 50% off your very first month of coverage. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Again, puretalk.com/Shapiro. Save an extra 50% off your very first month of coverage. I've been using Pure Talk myself for years at this point. Their coverage is excellent. And of course, I am saving money and they don't hate my values. Head over to puretalk.com/Shapiro today to get started. The crisis that has now engulfed the Secret Service is quite real. Yesterday, CNN's Shimon Prokopez confronted a Secret Service representative asking questions about Trump's shooting. They had no answers whatsoever.
You had one of the most significant events in the Secret Service's history occurred yesterday, and no one from the Secret Service has publicly decided to take questions about what happened. And the FBI today openly giving us an on-the-record briefing about their investigation, but yet we still have not heard from anyone from the Secret Service about what happened, about what the agency knew, about the lead-up into the event concerning security. And I just don't understand how anyone would think that that's okay.
So my role in the Secret Service is the RNC coordinator, so that is my purview. Any questions regarding yesterday's event can be directed to our public affairs office out of D.C.
That is a stonewalling from the Secret Service agent Audrey Gibson Cicchino. That is the Secret Service RNC coordinator. The question, in case you couldn't hear it, was, I don't understand why it is. You have one of the most significant events in the Secret Service's history, and no one from Secret Service has publicly decided to take questions about what exactly happened. Full-scale disaster for the Secret Service, and honest to God, they are lucky as hell, as obviously the country is lucky as hell, that President Trump was not murdered up on that stage. The tragedy occurred nonetheless. Well, President Biden is reacting to this tragedy, and now we are going to get the walk back, but it's not a real walk back. So the walk back that we are seeing from the Biden administration, from the Biden White House, is an acknowledgement that we need to cool the rhetoric, that the rhetoric has to calm down, which of course is something that I have been saying for years in this country, is that when you declare that your political enemies are such a threat to the republic, that if they are elected will be, say, the last election, that will be the end of America, that you and your friends are going to end up in actual jail. You're not joking about it, you actually mean that. When you say that sort of stuff, you are exacerbating political divides to the extent that somebody could take you seriously and then go attempt to shoot the president of the United States in the head, for example. Well, yesterday, about 2 p.m., President Biden comes out and he makes a statement. Now, it's pretty clear, politically speaking, and politics, of course, is enmeshed in all of this because President Biden is running a really rough re-elect campaign against President Trump. By polling data, Donald Trump is leading him by about 3 points nationally. If Donald Trump were to win the popular vote by 3 points, he has a 100% chance of winning the Electoral College, according to Nate Silver, the poll analyst. Joe Biden, until the assassination attempt, was the center of the news, specifically because he is clearly in mental distress. He is a person who clearly is sundowning late in the afternoon, evening. We'll get to that in a moment because, as it turns out, he did yet another Oval Office address in which he struggled to make it through a telepromptered address. So he did an event about 2 p.m. yesterday. He was flanked by the Vice President, Kamala Harris, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. He issued a rather banal statement saying an investigation was underway. He said that he had called President Trump. Here is what President Biden had to say. This is about 2 p.m. Eastern time yesterday.
Last night, I spoke with Donald Trump. I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, and we had a short but good conversation. Jill and I are keeping him and his family in our prayers. As this investigation continues, here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Trump, as a former president and nominee of the Republican Party, already receives a heightened level of security. And I've been consistent in my direction to the Secret Service to provide him with every resource, capability, and protective measure necessary to ensure his continued safety. Second, I've directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. And third, I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened. And we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well.
So that was his rather blasé statement yesterday. That was earlier in the day. Now, the Biden team is saying, and they've leaked this to Axios, for example, that Biden is going to try to get out in front of this. He's going to try and make himself as public as possible here, mainly because it doesn't require him to take any serious questions about his fitness for office. He's been able to shift the narrative because of this horrifying circumstance away from himself. And now the entire focus of the American electorate is on President Trump.
Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.